I'm Miles Brandman, and this is the 2019 BMW 3 Series. It's a 330i, the entry point for the 7th generation 3 Series. Yes, there have been 7 generations since the car debuted in 1975. This car has a lot of cool tech. It's got some very distinctive styling cues, so let's go take a look. There she is. Couple things to keep in mind as I walk around this particular vehicle. One, it's a Euro spec car, so not all of the bits and pieces are going to make it to the US model. And two, this is equipped with the M Sport package. So the aerodynamic body kit, the wheels, the brakes, and the M Sport suspension are specific to that package. It's not going to be standard on all 330 models. All right, that said, let's take a look at the design. Up here at the front, I feel like this new generation has a lot more personality in terms of styling compared to the previous generation, which just looked a little bulbous, a little boring. You could tell it was a 3 Series, but it just didn't have much to kind of jump out at you. This car, especially with the M Sport package, has some real curb appeal. So this one has laser light technology, which means that these lights can project for up to 530 feet in front of you, which is a significant distance. And they also narrow as oncoming traffic approaches so as not to distract those drivers. It's a cool bit of tech. It's going to come to the US. I'm just not sure if it's going to be available right away when the car goes on sale. But standard LED headlights and taillights will be on the 330i. The M Sport includes these black painted side. Sorry, a lot of traffic coming. Didn't want to talk over that. These side air inlets painted black, and then this lower air dam. It's wider than on the standard 330i. The new kidney grille is also wider, and it has this drop-off point about 2 inches below the top of the kidney grille. You can see it here in profile. I prefer it to the big bucktooth look that we've seen on BMW concepts of late. It's just more appealing, and it's a visual width adder to the vehicle. And of course, this car is longer and wider than its predecessor, so visually and actual physically, the car is bigger than the vehicle it replaces. As we move to the side, you can see these upgraded 19-inch wheels. The standard car comes with 18-inch wheels. The 19-inchers are the way I would go. One, because it just fills out the wheel well that much better, but also the turn-in. As I was driving the car around here in Portimao, Portugal, there's some great roads out here, and you could really tell the difference between the 18-inchers and the 19-inchers in terms of turn-in response, and it didn't diminish ride quality at all having the larger wheels. Also part of the M Sport package are these upgraded brakes, and they make a huge difference compared to the standard 330i's braking system. Definitely recommend those. And that is wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. Excellent, excellent tires that come as standard on the 330. As I step back here, you can see the profile of the vehicle. Here's where you can really see the added length of the car. It's 3 inches longer than the predecessor, but it despite growing, it also is a lot lighter. It's 120 pounds lighter than the car it replaces. Sorry, these folks are waiting to turn left, so I'm just going to get out of the way. And there's another of my comrades now. All right, continuing where I left off. Yeah, so it shed about 120 pounds compared to the previous generation. So despite the fact that it grew, it losing weight means it still drives like a very well-sorted, fun-to-drive vehicle. The Hofmeister kink has been sort of massaged for this new 3 Series model, but still distinctive trait of the 3 Series. And now we get to the back, and this is perhaps my favorite look on the new 3 Series. Some people may call it very Lexus IS looking back end, but that's not really a bad thing. I think it's very handsome. These L-shaped LED tail lights, super sharp, very narrow. Again, adding visual width to the car. I also like the slight ducktail to the rear bumper, just integrated so nicely into the back of the car. Dual chrome exhaust ports within a painted gray lower bumper. These are faux vents, not real, no air is passing through them, but it looks pretty neat. Just give some character to the lower part of the bumper that would otherwise just be flat plastic. The trunk has a bit more storage capacity. The specific cubic feet of space, I'm not quite sure off the top of my head, but I do know they said it gained a bit more cargo room. And the real gains from the added length, both in the wheelbase and the overall length of the car, is for rear seat passengers. So I have the seat set in my position. I'm 6 feet tall, and when I climb back there, there's plenty of leg room and headroom. So full-size adults are not going to have trouble fitting in the back of the 3 Series and staying comfortable for a reasonably long trip. Blue stitching on the door panels to match the blue stitching on the seats and the seat inlets. I like this pattern in the seats. Has a little bit of character. 40-20-40 split folding, so a lot of storage options back there. And the front seats, again, part of the M Sport package, look really good. Plenty of lateral support, and of course the bottom bolsters can adjust. If you've got longer or shorter legs, can fit your particular body structure. Harman Kardon sound system in this model. This one has a few different upgrades over the standard car. Some other standard features will be adaptive cruise control and dual zone climate control. This one has the upgraded BMW Live Pilot. It's a 12.3-inch completely digital display. That's over the standard analog gauges that we've long had in BMWs. Some people will like that, some people will hate it. I think it's fine for most applications. There is sometimes a lot of glare on the screen and it makes it very difficult to see it. What you're seeing right here flickering is the driver monitor. So on the car, it has a monitor to see whether it works with the autonomous safety technologies. So you can have your hands off the wheel for up to 16 seconds in this car, and it's going to be monitoring you to make sure that your eyes are still looking ahead. You're not just kind of head turned back. You're not looking at your kids in the back seat. It just wants to make sure that you're paying attention, so when you do need to take over operation, you can. BMW says it's going to have a traffic jam pilot operation, basically up to speeds of 36 miles per hour. You can almost drive the car completely without your hands off the wheel, which is pretty neat. But we've seen that also in modern Audis and Mercedes-Benz vehicles, so it's not revolutionary, but it is cool that BMW's stepping it up there. This display can be reconfigured. You can move around and change the display on the right-hand side, and when you go into the infotainment system, this is BMW's iDrive system 7.0 is their terminology for it. But it's pretty intuitive, quick to respond, and has some shortcuts. So you can change up the instrument cluster to say, I want the navigation view, map view on, off, what have you. And then you can change up the head-up display, which I think you should be able to see. Yeah, there it is. And it's pretty crystal clear, that head-up display, and doesn't get in your way when you're driving. It's more just a helpful aid more than a distraction. The map itself is good, not as good as Audi's setup, I would say, but it's quick. And you still, of course, have the control wheel, so if you'd prefer to zoom in and zoom out that way, or use the touch, or you use BMW's driving assistant, which they're really talking a lot about that on this Generation 3 Series because it can do so much more this time around. If you've seen Mercedes-Benz new UX infotainment system, you know that system can do things like say, BMW, I want to find a pizzeria, and it will direct you to the nearest pizzeria. BMW system effectively does the same thing. I would say it's a little more limited. I can't do things like say, hey BMW, turn off the lane keeping assist, and it would do that. It's not as sophisticated as Mercedes-Benz system, but it still does have some cool functions. You can just say, hey BMW, what's my oil level like? And it will say whether it's fine or you need to inflate your tires or what have you, more warning system based things. But really, BMW is never going to be able to compete with Apple and Siri and Google and and Amazon and Alexa. It's not going to be able to do that. This is new. It's climate control display down here. This cluster of buttons is very similar to what we've seen in the past from BMW. That's kind of standard kit. The pattern on this center stack looks a little cheap to me, and I've seen there's a 320D here that we're not going to get in the US, at least not right now, that has a much better pattern. This one looks like some really funky shapes and it doesn't feel very good, but at least it's not a bunch of piano black materials. That I'm not keen on modern cars, and this one doesn't have that, which I dig. The whole setup down here with buttons is pretty logical, really intuitive. That's kind of the story on the center cabin. A couple other technologies that I can't show you right now, but that this car does have. One is a reverse assistant. So basically the car stores in its memory the last 50 meters of your driving below speeds of 30 miles per hour. So if you're trying to maneuver your way into a really narrow passageway and you're worried that you won't be able to back up in the exact same way that you came in, you don't have to worry, because you can just activate the reverse assistant and the car will just reverse in the exact same path that you took to get the car into that space. And I think that's a really useful function. Some of these active safety features suck or just useless, and that one's pretty good. Now moving on to the motor here, this one has the 2.0 liter single turbocharged 4-cylinder. It makes 258 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, and that's an increase of 10 horsepower and 37 pound-feet of torque, which is a decent bump over the previous generation 330i. The M340i that's going to come out around the same time the 330i is staged is going to use a 3-liter inline 6 with twin turbos, and it'll make 374 horsepower, which is a significant bump over the 340i that it replaces. That's 48 horsepower more. This car will do 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. The M340i will do the same test in 4.4 seconds. Either car, they're very, very quick vehicles, and this one's set up with the M Sport suspension and packaging, is well suited to this engine, drives very nicely. The ride is superb, even on the larger 19-inch wheels. I've just been very, very impressed with it. Pricing information. We don't yet know what it's going to cost exactly, but BMW has said it should start right around what the current car starts at, but with more standard features. So look for a price of about $41,000 with destination for the base 330i. You want the M Sport package, that's probably going to be about $4,000 extra. And if you want the larger digital display and larger infotainment screen, then that's going to be more money on top of that. Basically, a well-equipped 330i is going to run you $50,000. Is it worth it? In my opinion, yes. I think this car rides better and handles and has plenty of power. The interior is not as nice as the C-Class, in my opinion. The exterior, well, that's kind of personal preference. I think it looks pretty good. But all in all, this 7th generation 3 Series is a big step up over its predecessor in pretty much every way. Alrighty, that's the story on the new 3. Thanks for watching, guys. More info to come.